Hi, I'm Ollie. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you can learn about prepositions of movement like around, past, towards, through, and more. Have you visited our website? If not, why not? Go check it out. We have free video lessons, listening lessons, quizzes, lots of things to help you practice. If you want to take one-to-one online classes, you can choose from our many highly qualified teachers. Our classes are personalized for you and your needs, and you can study when you want. Go take a look, oxfordonlineenglish.com. Also, do you want English subtitles while watching this video? Click the CC button in the bottom right to turn on English subtitles if you need them. Now, let's look at how to use prepositions of movement in English. Around can have two different meanings. First, around can mean in a circle. The train is going around the track. The Earth revolves around its axis. Around can also mean in different directions. For example, if you say, "We walked around the city centre," you mean that you walked to different parts of the centre. Here's another example. He looked around to check that everything seemed okay. He looked around, so he looked in different directions, left, right, up, down, and so on. Along means in a straight line plus parallel to something. She's walking along the stream. The woman walked along the street. He's cycling along the road. Instead of along, you can often use up or down instead in conversational English. For example, instead of he's cycling along the road, you could say he's cycling up the road or he's cycling down the road. Confusingly, up and down can mean exactly the same thing. Sometimes there's a small difference. Up can mean towards you, and down can mean away from you. So these two sentences could mean the same thing. They could also be different. The first sentence with up could mean that she's walking towards you, and the second sentence with down could mean that she's walking away from you. The couple walked under the bridge. She passed under the fallen tree. Under is similar to below, but not exactly the same. Do you know the difference? Below means that you stay underneath something. Under, as a preposition of movement, means that you pass from one side of something to another. So, if you're talking about movement, under is more common. You could say the couple walked below the bridge. It's grammatically correct, but it's also strange. Do you know why? The couple walked below the bridge means they stayed in the area underneath the bridge, so the bridge was over their heads the whole time when they were walking. Over is the direct opposite of under. The plane flew right over our heads. She vaulted over the bar. The direct opposite of below is above. The difference between over and above is the same as the difference between under and below. Across means from one side of something to the other. When the light turned green, they walked across the street. We walked across a narrow wooden bridge. When you use across, there normally isn't anything above you. Use it for open spaces. For closed spaces, do you know which preposition to use? He walked through the door. We drove through the tunnel. The boat traveled through the swamp. Sometimes both through and across are possible. You can say the boat traveled through the swamp or across the swamp. The meaning is similar, but there could be a small difference. Do you know? Through means that you enter and then exit something. If you drive through a tunnel, you first drive into the tunnel and then you drive out of it. If the boat travels through the swamp, it moves into the swamp and later moves out of it. Across means that you start on one side and finish on the opposite side. If you say the boat traveled across the swamp, you mean that it entered the swamp on one side and it exited on the other side. You can use both across and through with large open spaces, especially natural spaces, fields, parks, gardens, cities, and so on. When you can use both, across has a more specific meaning than through. Both mean that you entered a space and then exited it, but across also tells you where you exited. Towards means that you approach something, you get closer to something. He walked towards the plane. She's walking towards the sea. They're walking towards the lighthouse. The opposite of towards is away from. Here's a question. What's the difference between these two? Both mean that they approached the lighthouse, but they're slightly different. Towards tells you a direction. Up to tells you a final result. If they walked towards the lighthouse, they got closer to it. You don't know where they started or finished, but you know that they got closer to the lighthouse. If they walked up to the lighthouse, then they reached the lighthouse. They ended up next to the lighthouse. In this case, you don't know where they started, but you do know where they finished. Into has two common meanings as a preposition of movement. First, it can mean to enter. He dived into the water. She came into the office. Into can also mean to collide with something. The cars crashed into each other. The opposite of into, meaning enter, is out of. She took the instruments out of the cupboard. He got out of his car to fill it up with petrol. I was walking past the cafe when I saw my friend sitting inside. The two women walked past the parking garage. If you walk past something, for example a house, you start with the house in front of you, you walk past the house, and then the house is behind you. Up and down have two common meanings as prepositions of movement. First, you have the basic meaning, to a higher or lower position. She's walking up the hill. When we let go of the lanterns, they flew up into the sky. He walked down the stairs while talking on the phone. The roller coaster accelerated down a steep drop. You saw earlier that up or down can also have the same meaning as along. That's all for this lesson. Thanks for watching.